Joe Delaney, Honorary Treasurer of the Football Association of Ireland, was rarely without a twinkle in his eye. But on the evening of the 8th of March 1996, beset by damaging newspaper reports that had led him to offer his resignation, he arrived at the Westbury Hotel off Grafton Street, looking dishevelled, his eyes puffy and red. Sessions of the FAI Council were, for Joe Delaney, normally cheerful gatherings. This one was more like a court-martial. Joe Delaney did not arrive at the Westbury alone. By his side was his eldest son, John, a gangly figure with a long face and cowlick haircut. John Delaney was 28 years old. 2 years earlier, in happier times, Joe Delaney had travelled to the 1994 World Cup in the United States. Who could forget the buzz and bonhomie around the lobby of the Orlando North Hilton in Florida? Memorable also was Joe Delaney's ticketing operation on the 7th floor of the hotel, in a room covered with match tickets and cash in multiple currencies worth tens of thousands of dollars. Ireland had their training camp in Orlando and played 2 games there, both of which they lost badly. Still, there was no stopping the legendary crack. Bishop Eamon Casey, exiled to Ecuador after a sex scandal, slipped in and out of the hotel quietly to get his match tickets. The Dublin comedian, Brendan O'Carroll, was happy to entertain the fans. U2's Larry Mullen was amongst the throng as O'Carroll led the revellers in a bastardised version of the smoky hit Alice, which included the chant, "Alice? Who the fuck is Alice?" Eamon Dunphy arrived in Joe Delaney's room on a mission to help an acquaintance get 4 tickets. Joe was sitting on the bed, Dunphy recalls. On the floor was the biggest suitcase I've ever seen anywhere. I looked in the suitcase and all that was in it was dollar bills and tickets. Dunphy expected Joe to tell him to fuck off when he asked for 4, but he was told that it was no problem. Delaney dipped into his suitcase. "They're 4 good ones. How much do I owe you?" "Nothing. Tell him I gave them to you." That, says Dunphy, was the Irish way. It wasn't the right way for Brendan Menton, son of the former FAI president Brendan Menton Sr., and himself a former FAI council member. Menton was in Florida on a sporting holiday, away from his job as chief economist at AIB and amongst some old friends, when he hopped in the hotel elevator and arrived at Joe Delaney's nerve centre to buy tickets for the last 16 game against Holland. Menton looked at the bundles of tickets and cash strewn around the floor. He asked Joe if he would like him to assist in acquiring a credit card machine to make payment more efficient. Delaney politely declined the offer and told him it was cash only. Menton shrugged, paid for his tickets and left. He didn't think much more of it. Joe Delaney moved his ticket operation to the environs of Mulvaney's pub in Church Street, where the Orlando cops intervened to restore order as Ireland fans jostled for tickets. Delaney was asked by the Orlando Sentinel how many tickets the FAI would have for sale on match day. He replied, "How long is a piece of string?" Qualification for the 1996 European Championship was beyond an ageing Ireland team, and it was clear that the magic of Euro 88, Italia 90 and the win over Italy in the World Cup opener in 94 had gone. The Jack Charlton era had run its course. Young blood was clearly needed on the pitch and in the dugout. The FAI was coming under scrutiny for the way it handled its affairs. While Ireland had qualified for 3 major tournaments in 10 years and beaten some of the biggest nations in world football, the association had made a loss from the 2 World Cups. Its financial records were kept in an old-fashioned ledger, and when the bookkeeper, Maureen Lynch, left in the summer of 1994, the system broke down altogether. A new computer system for the association was lying in the basement, yet to be installed. Peter Buckley, an accountant who arrived in the finance department in January 1995 after being recommended to Joe Delaney, found the place in a mess. One of his first jobs was to go through cheque stubs and work out who had been paid for what. That was particularly difficult when there was nothing written on the cheque stubs. In February 1996, Sean Connolly, who held the title of FAI General Secretary, resigned after 5 years in the job. The association released a terse statement with no explanation given. Connolly told RTE's Primetime that he had taken a loan of £6,000 from the FAI and that he had repaid it, but that the loan had been used as a pretext to get rid of him. 2 days after the announcement of Connolly's departure, Veronica Guerin reported in the Sunday Independent that at the 1994 World Cup, senior FAI personnel had given tickets to a London-based ticket tout to sell on. that the tout had ripped the FAI off on a vast scale and that an unidentified FAI official had later personally made up the FAI shortfall.